I never imagined that a simple afternoon in our quiet suburban home in Portland, Oregon, would completely change how I saw both myself and my family. At the time, life felt like an endless routine. I worked long hours as a school counselor, juggling my duties at Roosevelt High and the responsibilities of raising a family. My husband, Daniel Miller, was a software engineer, always surrounded by code and deadlines. Our teenage son, Ethan, had just turned 16 and was navigating the complicated maze of high school, grades, friendships, and figuring out who he wanted to be. Life was steady, predictable, and sometimes, truthfully, a little dull. But what I didn't realize was that Ethan was quietly discovering something about himself that would draw all of us closer together: his passion for art. The discovery. It started on an ordinary Saturday. I was cleaning the living room, humming along to the radio, when I noticed the coffee table covered in scattered sketchbooks, pencils, and smudges of charcoal. Ethan usually kept to himself, mostly listening to music or playing basketball with his friends. But this looked like something different. Curiosity pulled me closer. Flipping open one of the sketchbooks, I found portraits, some of famous figures, others of strangers. They were raw but breathtaking. The shading, the way he captured light and shadow, the quiet emotion in the eyes. I couldn't believe this had come from a 16-year-old's hand. I felt almost intrusive, as though I'd stumbled upon a secret diary. Before I could turn another page, Ethan appeared in the doorway, startled and defensive. "Mom, don't look at those," he blurted, rushing forward to grab the sketchbook. I froze, realizing how vulnerable he must have felt. "Ethan, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to snoop. I didn't know you could draw like this." His face softened a little. He shrugged, mumbling, "It's just something I've been messing around with." But I knew from the detail in his work, the discipline in those pages, that this wasn't casual doodling. This was a gift. Becoming his supporter. From that day forward, I started paying more attention. I bought him new pencils, brushes, and canvases, always pretending it was just on sale or I thought you could use it. Daniel was supportive too, though he admitted he didn't really get art. Ethan's room slowly transformed into a mini studio. Blank walls filled with sketches. His desk, once crowded with textbooks, was now a sea of colors and tools. One evening, after dinner, Ethan surprised me with a quiet question. "Mom, would you ever sit for me? Like, as a model?" I blinked, unsure if I'd heard him right. "Me? You want to draw me?" "Yeah," he said quickly, avoiding eye contact. "It's for practice. I need to learn how to draw real people, not just photos." I laughed nervously. The idea of someone staring at me for hours, analyzing every wrinkle and curve of my face, made me feel exposed. But the hope in his eyes melted my hesitation. "Of course," I said softly. "I'd be honored." The first sitting. The next Sunday afternoon, Ethan set up a chair near his bedroom window where soft sunlight streamed in. He positioned his easel, adjusted his pencils, and looked more serious than I'd ever seen him. "Just relax," he instructed, sounding older than his years. "Pretend you're not even here." Easier said than done. I tried to sit still, my hands folded in my lap, as Ethan sketched in silence. Every few minutes, he'd glance up at me, his eyes flicking with concentration. At first, I felt self-conscious, but then something shifted. Watching my son work, so focused and alive, was like seeing a completely different side of him. He wasn't the moody teenager I nagged about homework or the boy glued to his headphones. He was an artist, thoughtful, observant, and deeply passionate. After an hour, he finally leaned back, exhaling. "Done." When he turned the sketchpad around, my breath caught. It wasn't a glamorous or idealized portrait. It was real. Every line of my face, the tired but kind expression in my eyes, the faint smile tugging at my lips. For the first time in years, I felt truly seen. The muse. That one portrait sparked a new ritual. Every weekend, Ethan asked me to sit for him, sometimes in the living room, sometimes outside in the garden. He experimented with different mediums: pencil, charcoal, watercolor. Soon, it wasn't just about drawing me. Sometimes he'd sketch Daniel or our dog Max, or the view from the kitchen window. But he always came back to me, saying I was his practice subject because my expressions were never the same twice. It became our private time together, a bond we hadn't shared since he was a little boy. We talked during breaks, about school, his dreams, even the struggles he never admitted before. He told me how sometimes he felt invisible in a world obsessed with sports and grades. Art was his escape, his way of making sense of things. I realized then that being his muse wasn't about vanity. It was about trust. He was letting me into his world, showing me the truest version of himself. The first exhibition. One afternoon, his art teacher, Ms. Rivera, called me. I don't know if Ethan has told you this, but he's incredibly talented. We're hosting a student art exhibition at the Portland Art Center, and I'd love for him to submit some work. When I told Ethan, he turned red with embarrassment. What? No way. My stuff isn't good enough for that. But I wouldn't let him back down. Neither would Ms. Rivera. Together, we convinced him to submit a few pieces, including one of the portraits he'd drawn of me. The night of the exhibition, we all dressed up and drove downtown. The gallery buzzed with families, students, and art lovers. My heart pounded as I spotted Ethan's work displayed on the wall, my face staring back at me from his sketch. People stopped, studied, and whispered. Some even praised the emotion in the portrait. Watching Ethan soak it all in, the recognition, the validation, filled me with pride. For once, he wasn't just the quiet kid in class. He was the artist. The ripple effect. That exhibition changed everything. Ethan gained confidence, and soon he was applying for summer art programs, entering contests, and even considering art school after graduation. Our relationship deepened too. He still teased me about my modeling fees, cookies, and hot chocolate, but I noticed how much lighter he seemed. He smiled more. He talked more. Even Daniel, who once shrugged at art, began to admire Ethan's dedication. He'd peek into the studio and ask, "So, what masterpiece are you working on now?" Our family dinners became less about rushing and more about sharing. Ethan's passion had somehow brought us all closer. Looking back, now when I see that first portrait hanging on our hallway wall, I'm reminded of what it represents. It's not just a picture of me. It's a turning point. Becoming Ethan's muse taught me that sometimes the greatest gift we can give our children is simply saying yes. Yes to their passions. Yes to their dreams. Yes to the parts of themselves they're scared to share. I never expected to inspire his art. But in truth, he inspired me far more. To slow down, to see myself in a new light, and to realize that beauty often hides in the ordinary moments we take for granted. Ethan may have discovered his gift, but I discovered something too. The quiet power of being truly seen by someone you love.